The story of Daniel, the prophet, is one of the most fascinating and inspiring in the entire Bible. Imagine a young man taken captive to a foreign land, separated from his family, his homeland, and everything he knew. Yet he maintained an unshakable faith in God, a faith that would be tested repeatedly in unimaginable ways. Daniel was just a young man when King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon invaded Jerusalem and took the best and brightest young Israelites captive. These youths were to be trained to serve in the king's palace, learning the culture, language, and customs of the Babylonians. But Daniel and his friends Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah decided from the start that they would remain faithful to the God of Israel no matter the circumstances. From the very beginning, Daniel faced difficult choices. When offered the king's food, meals and wines of the finest quality, but also dedicated to pagan gods, he made a bold decision. He requested permission not to defile himself with the king's food, choosing instead to eat only vegetables and drink water. This seemingly small decision revealed Daniel's character. He was willing to risk his position and even his life to honor God. What happened next was remarkable. After 10 days of testing, Daniel and his friends looked healthier and stronger than all the other young men who had eaten the king's delicacies. This caught the attention of the officials and, more importantly, demonstrated that God was with them. Daniel's faithfulness was rewarded, but this was just the first of many trials. Years later, Daniel faced another monumental challenge. Nebuchadnezzar had a disturbing dream, one so strange and significant that he couldn't sleep. The king demanded that his wise men not only interpret the dream but also describe it, without him revealing the dream to them. When no one could meet his demand, the king ordered all the wise men of Babylon to be executed, including Daniel and his friends. Upon hearing about the situation, Daniel acted with wisdom and discretion. He requested time from the king and, along with his friends, prayed fervently to God for revelation. During the night, God revealed Nebuchadnezzar's dream to Daniel along with its interpretation. Imagine the relief and gratitude Daniel must have felt knowing his prayers had been answered. The next morning, Daniel was brought before the king. He not only described the dream, a great statue with a head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, and feet of iron mixed with clay, but also explained its meaning. He told the king that the statue represented a succession of kingdoms, beginning with Nebuchadnezzar's own golden reign and ending with an eternal kingdom established by God. Daniel's courage in speaking these truths before a powerful and unpredictable king was extraordinary. And once again, God honored his faithfulness. Nebuchadnezzar was so impressed that he exalted Daniel, placing him in a position of great authority in Babylon. But Daniel's life was far from peaceful. Over the years, Daniel continued to face challenges and dangers. When Nebuchadnezzar was succeeded by his son Belshazzar, Daniel was already an older man. At that time, Belshazzar hosted a great banquet and, in an act of total disrespect, ordered the sacred vessels from the temple in Jerusalem to be brought in for the feast. As the king and his guests drank wine from the holy vessels and praised their gods of gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone, something supernatural occurred. A mysterious hand appeared and began writing on the palace wall. The words written were incomprehensible to everyone, but fear overtook Belshazzar. He promised great rewards to anyone who could interpret the writing. That's when Daniel, known for his wisdom and connection to God, was called in. Entering the banquet hall, Daniel was undeterred. He rebuked the king for his arrogance and irreverence. Then he interpreted the words on the wall, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Parsin. Daniel explained that God had weighed Belshazzar's kingdom and found it lacking. His kingdom would soon be divided and given to the Medes and Persians. That very night, the prophecy was fulfilled. Belshazzar was killed, and Darius the Mede took over the kingdom. Even under the new rule, Daniel continued to stand out for his integrity and wisdom, but his prominent position attracted jealousy. Some leaders, envious of Daniel, convinced King Darius to issue a decree forbidding anyone from praying to any god or man except the king for 30 days. Violating this decree would result in being thrown into the lion's den. Daniel was fully aware of the decree, but it didn't stop him from praying to God as he always did. He continued to kneel by his open window, praying 3 times a day. When his enemies caught him and reported him to the king, Darius was distressed. He admired Daniel and didn't want him to suffer, but the laws of the Medes and Persians were irrevocable, so Daniel was thrown into the lion's den. Imagine the tense silence of that night, with Daniel surrounded by hungry lions, but God sent an angel to shut the lions' mouths, protecting Daniel. The next morning, Darius hurried to the den and, with great relief, found Daniel alive and unharmed. In an act of justice, Daniel's accusers were thrown into the den, and this time, the lions didn't hesitate. Daniel's story is a powerful testimony of faith, courage, and loyalty. He stood firm in his trust in God, even in the face of deadly threats and seemingly insurmountable challenges. And God, in turn, honored his faith, protecting him and using him as an instrument to reveal his glory. This is just the surface of Daniel's life. Each chapter of his story is filled with lessons about God's sovereignty, the importance of prayer, and the power of faith. Daniel reminds us that even in a hostile world, we can stand firm and confident, knowing that God is with us. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. Daniel's story is a powerful invitation to reflect on the depth of faith and the impact of a life of courage and integrity in the face of extreme challenges. Every act of Daniel teaches us that when we fully trust in God, He empowers us to overcome adversity and shine as witnesses of His glory. Just as Daniel was a light in the darkness of Babylon, we too are called to be light in a world desperately in need of hope and truth. And if you want to keep diving into transformative stories like this, make sure to follow our channel. Subscribe now so you won't miss a single video. Leave a like to help us reach more people, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and comment on what impacted you most in Daniel's story. We're excited to hear your thoughts and grow together on this journey. Don't miss our upcoming videos. Each one will bring new perspectives to inspire and strengthen your faith.